Hello everybody, thanks for joining me for another one-man review. Today I'll be taking a look at a collection of short comics by George Wylesol called Curses. This is out from Avery Hill Publishing. Very excited about this book because I had been very split on my opinion about Wylesol's 2120. 2120 was like a game book, and I really enjoyed the story, I really enjoyed the art, and I thought in terms of like using a game mechanism in a book, Wylesol had done it better than anyone else I've seen in terms of the game mechanism adding to the vibe of the book and the content of the book. But there was what appeared to me to be a misprint or something that made it impossible to finish the game, and I got frustrated with the book. But Wylesol as a creator is someone who still really interests me. So I was really excited to get this and see some more of his work. I didn't know what to expect. This first piece here is comprehensive list of curses, and again you can kind of see the game graphics quality to it. It's printed, it seems like intentionally half-toned to get the pixelated look of everything. The other thing that is interesting about this book is it looks like these are based on scans of risographs, maybe, I'm not sure, or there's an intentional like look like the letters are filled in that may be done intentionally on the computer, I'm not sure, but it kind of looks like they were scanning actual printed documents and then recreating them here because the look of those might have been too hard to recreate with all the kind of inconsistencies of the printing and stuff, I'm not sure. But you can see also these like iconic game type of things. You still get the sense of hyperlinks or something going through it, but that functions as a table of contents sort of. Then you get this story, Ghosts, and this one definitely feels like an old hyperlinked game where you're kind of clicking through. It doesn't actually work that way. It's not a game that you can play like the 2120, but it's a story that's told kind of having that vibe, and that makes you feel like you're getting sucked into it, like you are the one playing it a little bit. And just Wylesol's style overall is so cold and harsh and computerized that it adds to this like sense of impending corporate doom or something like that. There's a horrific quality to his work for me. But I like how he'll include, stuff like on the computer and just some interesting layouts overall. This one's called The Rabbit. You'll see that Wylesol can swerve in terms of style, that doesn't always have to have that computerized look. So some of these more horrific images are cool. Again, there's some stuff going on with the printing where it looks like a mess up, but it seems intentional, or it seems like they're letting, whoever's producing this is letting the like print job of the original mini comic come out or something, especially the way you have like this white around and then it looks like it's cropped. So it gives me the sense of like an archive where they've scanned these older pieces in some places. This one I think is a really, really interesting piece. This is called Castle Maker, and it's about people meeting in a virtual world and getting to know each other in a virtual world. I really love the style, again, super appropriate and really appropriate for Wylesol's aesthetic. I think it really seems like this is his core aesthetic, is taking early game art and translating that into comics. It reminds me a lot of the fine artist John Raffman, who's someone who's very playful with early digital formats and was kind of part of the early vaporwave aesthetic, and just a really interesting fine artist overall. I think Wylesol has a lot in common with him. There's some things in here that seem less like stories to me and more like sketchbooks, finished art presented as a sketchbook, like these short little stories, these 6-panel combinations here that seem pretty non sequitur, where it's just maybe visual ideas or you have to work a little harder to get the meaning out of it. Just a lot of stuff like that. This is a story, someone just playing with filters. So a lot of these short things that seem like reasons to A, comment on technology, and B, have a chance to try out a lot of these different, like, just ideas for how images could look, how this what looks again like risograph to me, but playing with how these different print techniques could show up on page to create effects. So providing yourself a limitation and then being experimental within that is always really, really cool. A pretty big stylistic swerve for this piece called Worthless. Really, again, like this is very designy compositions. The poetics of form is going on in here, where like the overriding composition almost means more than what's going on in the panels. But there is a story being told in here. These bad kids come in and they kind of get into a fight in this store, and you can see just some of the stunning layouts in here. Again, big use of icons to make meaning, but these bigger meta compositions holding everything together. Even though it's split up into a bunch of different panels, they all run together to make one concrete composition. So really, really enjoy this mode of working from Wylesol. Here's another page from this one, just because I was so into it. Combining his old green screen computer aesthetic that he seems to like with some really nice, like, just design and use of lettering and symbolism throughout. So really leaning into comics as graphic design, which is something I really, really enjoy and would like to see more of. It seems usually when that happens, it veers into the surreal. I would like to see people do this. I guess like Chris Ware is someone who's really good at this, but keeping a story going. But something more designy like this with story would be really, really cool. This was a story. This is a story called Welcome. It's about a house that was built in 2005, and you're just seeing little pieces of it. They're basically trying to sell this house to somebody and telling them that the previous owner was got murdered or something like that. This one's called The Loser, and again, you can see the pixel aesthetic here, the getting plugged into the internet type of aesthetic and getting turned into a cubic object yourself. Again, really playful art style, really fun designs, really fun colors. You can see, again, the interest in like the spot colors and the different printing processes and the way it's represented. Here's an untitled piece. There's a lot of stuff like this where they're more mysterious, they're more occult seeming. It's just like a formal thing that's going on without much story, where it's just Wylesol working out different visual ideas, it looks like. There's a much larger piece called The Cursed Lover. I don't want to get into the story on that, but just some of the interesting imagery here, where this is Mercy's house, grandmother, hi grandma, and then they're going inside. Love the design on this very strange house, and then really love the typesetting here that's in this really awful like party font that you would get out of Word. And then Wylesol has taken the time to go through and like alternate color on every one. Just these little decisions that I think make the whole book way more enjoyable, way more playful. And then before the story's even finished, like there's an interjection of ads for Wylesol's other two books, 2120, which I do have, and Internet Crusader, which I don't have and I need to get. But I thought that's really funny that is like becomes part of this larger story as an ad for the other books. Instead of putting it at the end like other books by this artist or whatever, that's actually worked in. So I don't know if this piece here was made specifically for this book or if this was part of something larger, because it is quite a longer story that's embedded within. So yeah, a really, really compelling artist with a very specific vision, but not a specific vision that's so locked in you don't get some variety. There's a good amount of variety, but still conceptually consistent throughout. Really enjoyed the book. Definitely need to get myself Internet Crusader, and we'll continue to look for anything else George Wylesol has to do. Plaza by Yokoyama Yuichi. This is translated by Ryan Holmberg and is very large for a manga, so that's a really cool feature of this book, this standard manga size. And this is just a 200 some odd page representation of what Yokoyama Yuichi thinks of the Carnival Parade, and he's just made this like relentlessly loud and rhythmic book that pushes all kinds of amazing boundaries of what comics and manga are, and we could not recommend this book more.
Make sure to like, smash that subscribe button, and ring that bell.